To be completely vulnerable here is because I didn't really feel like a man. I was afraid of fighting. I've always been afraid of sparring, getting hurt. I was afraid of looking weak. I think that's the biggest fear we have as men. Hey everyone, Stephen here, and today we're going to be talking about why I decided to go from powerlifting and bodybuilding to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And I know if you're a powerlifter and bodybuilder, you might be asking yourself this question of, why would I decide to take something extracurricular which is going to affect my gains in bodybuilding and powerlifting? And so in this video, I'm going to be trying to explain my reasoning behind doing Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and just to give you a bit of context. The ideas and perspectives which I'm going to be sharing is based on philosophy and spirituality, so if you're interested in that, then stick around. So just a bit of history about my bodybuilding journey. So in 2017 I was very skinny fat. I had bad habits, partying, drinking, smoking, and I was pretty anxious and depressed. So getting into the gym, bodybuilding, dieting was definitely a good way to claw out of this negative loop. And this is getting a bit deeper, but another reason why I decided to get into gym, bodybuilding is because I didn't really feel like a man. We live in a society where physical strength isn't really regarded as important. And that's true because most of us, work office jobs and 9 to 5s. But I believe that being physically strong as a man is some sort of primal instinct within us, And I do believe that having physical strength parallels having mental strength. Anyway, I want to go and do a deep dive into the philosophy of bodybuilding and what really kept me going and staying in that sport. So one of the first main things is the self-discipline. I do the things that I don't want to do even though I feel uncomfortable because I committed to it. So for instance, waking up about 4:30 in the morning, go to the gym. I've stayed consistent with that this year. It really is definitely like the pillar which holds you together as a man, because I'm a big believer of this saying, as I said in another video, how you do anything is how you do everything. And if I conduct myself with self-discipline in the gym, then I'm going to be self-disciplined in all other aspects of my life. For example, when I was trying to improve in my personal finances, I read all these books. Now, I didn't want to read these books. This is the last thing I wanted to do. I'd rather go outside, it's sunny outside. I'd rather go out and play, ride my bike, go for a run, play with my dog. But it was the discipline which I learned from the gym of, okay, I do not want to do this, but I have to do this because it's important to me in my future. So now adding on top of that lesson of visiting the uncomfortable is that bodybuilding helped me with my journaling. So what is journaling? So journaling is basically, writing down your fears, insecurities, your mistakes, trying to learn from yourself, trying to learn from the past, and try to basically psychoanalyze yourself. And this is very similar to bodybuilding, because in bodybuilding, when you're lifting, you're actually tearing and breaking down the muscle for it to grow even stronger afterwards. And so with journaling, you're sort of breaking yourself down mentally and spiritually to basically face your demons. It's suffering, it hurts when you do that. But then, I always feel a surge of resistance when I pick up my journal before I start writing, because I don't know what I'm going to encounter internally when I have to tell the truth to myself. It's suffering. As Fyodor Dostoevsky says, suffering is the sole origin of consciousness. And to reach a higher state of consciousness, to become the highest version of yourself, to self-improve mentally and spiritually, you're going to have to suffer. And how do you do that? You do it through journaling. Yeah, and here's all my journals. I journal every day, try to always improve. And so now, anyway, I've talked a lot about bodybuilding. So now I want to move on to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and why I decided to join Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. To be completely vulnerable here, one of the main reasons was that I was afraid of fighting. I've always been afraid of sparring, getting hurt, looking like an idiot, looking incompetent because I don't know how to fight, and most importantly, I was afraid of looking weak. I think that's the biggest fear we have as men. And going back to the quote before, what I said was, how you do anything is how you do everything. So if I'm running away from these fears and insecurities that I have in this domain of physical combat or mixed martial arts, what other aspects of my life am I running away from things, So I feel like me addressing this, going into this unknown territory where I've not yet been, to be willing to look like a fool and basically put my ego to the side and be humble. Everybody's submitting me when I go to roll, everyone just chokes me out and everything, whatever, but I feel like I need to do that. I need to address that. I need to address these insecurities. I feel like acting it out in the physical world will allow me to do it, to act out, addressing my own inner fears in the internal world as well. how you do anything is how you do everything. Adding on top of that, when you do like bodybuilding, yeah, you can gain muscle, you start to look big. When you do powerlifting, you start to get really strong. And while I felt good about myself, at the back of my mind, I always just thought like, like I'm big and strong, but can I defend myself? And that's another insecurity that adds on top of the insecurity that I mentioned before of like my fear of fighting. Another reason why I decided to join Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is because I believe that this is another avenue through which I can explore philosophical ideas. So like I rambled on about bodybuilding, about all the things I learned about self-discipline and all of that, and I believe Jiu Jitsu is just going to be a new place where I can learn a bunch of new things. Adding to the idea of wanting to learn about philosophy is that, so 3 years ago, 2019, when I actually got interested and started reading and looking into philosophy, studying it in my own time, I was thinking, should I go back to university so I can study philosophy and psychology and all these sorts of things? But then I was also listening to David Goggins, and David Goggins talks about this. He says that you don't necessarily need to go to university to learn about, the human condition, philosophy, psychology. David Goggins is basically a practitioner of philosophy and psychology by studying himself. And how does he do that? He ventures off into the unknown. He forces himself into crazy ultra marathons when he has to endure suffering, and through suffering is he able to come out of it with these nuggets of wisdom, which philosophers have been rambling about since the beginning of time. Continuing on from that, why else I decided to do Jiu-Jitsu is that it's a form of meditation. So when I was asking people, why did you get into Jiu-Jitsu? Some of them actually said surprisingly, I like it because it's like meditation. Because how are you supposed to think about your problems and other trivial things in your life if there's someone trying to choke you out, while you're rolling? So I thought this was really interesting. It's a form of meditation, and I believe also that you get into a state of flow, because once you're better, and yeah, you can sort of go into flow once you understand, I'm in this position, I should do this and whatnot. And yeah, it's just a cool experience, Also, what got me into Jiu-Jitsu is what they said on their website. So they really sold it to me when I read this little excerpt about why do Jiu-Jitsu. So I'm just going to bring it up now. So I'm going to read it. Maximum efficiency with minimum energy self-defense. Jiu-Jitsu is the way to the most effective use of physical, mental, and spiritual strength. By teaching you attacks and defenses, it refines your body, your mind, and your soul, and helps you to make the spiritual essence of Jiu-Jitsu a part of your very being. In this way, you are able to perfect yourself and contribute to something of value to the world. The principle of maximum efficient use of mind and body is the fundamental principle governing all the techniques of Jiu-Jitsu. This principle can also be applied to the improvement of the human body, making it strong, healthy, and useful, and so constitute physical education. It can also be applied to the movement of intellectual and moral power, and this case constitutes mental and moral education. It can be applied to the movement of diet, clothing, housing, social interaction, and methods of business, therefore constituting a study in living. Jiu-Jitsu, in its fullest sense, is a study and a method of training in mind, body, and spirit, as well as in the regulation of life affairs. Yeah, as you can see, that's sort of all the things I've been talking about. It's not just about learning these moves on the mats, it's about all the other aspects of life which you can touch. In conclusion, if you want to learn more about yourself and, want to grow mentally and spiritually, then I believe the way to do that is to venture off into the unknown and conquer your fears and go to the places you have not yet been. Okay, hope this video was of value to you. If you learned anything, like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, see you in the next video.